Hi guys, welcome to Scott Family Homestead. Today we have a major surplus of eggs. Our spring layers have just started going and they're giving us an abundance of eggs. So what I'm going to do today is water glass eggs. Water glassing is a method of preserving eggs to make them shelf stable. You're going to put it into a pickling lime solution and you can keep this in a dark pantry for up to a year. So we are going to take our overabundance of eggs here and preserve it so that in the wintertime, when our chickens aren't laying as much, we will still have eggs to use for baking and breakfasts and all those sorts of things. So I found some of these really cool vintage half-gallon jars, and I'm going to use those since I won't be heating these up at all. These are the perfect use for that. I've got a big basket of eggs, and these are all unwashed, fresh eggs. So that's really important. You won't be able to do this with store-bought eggs because those have been washed. And what this uses is the bloom is all intact on these eggs. So when a chicken lays an egg, it has a protective coating on it. And when you wash that off, things can permeate into the shell. So we don't want to wash these eggs at all. Any of them that have any poop or dirt or bedding on it, if you can scrape it off, that's all right, but otherwise you don't want to scrub or wash them. So you need pretty clean eggs to be able to do this. So I've got my basket of clean eggs here. I've got some half-gallon jars. I'm going to use the Mrs. Wages pickling lime, and this is calcium hydroxide. That should be the only ingredient in it. For a half-gallon jar, we're going to use 1 ounce of pickling lime and 1 quart of water. So I've got my scale here. I've already measured out my lime. It ended up being about 2 tablespoons for me. I've got 4 cups of water here, and we're going to start by putting those into our jar. So we're going to go ahead and put in our lime and 4 cups of water. Now your water should be either well water or distilled water, some kind of filtered water. You don't want chlorine or fluoride in this water. Use whatever water filter you have, or if you have well water, it should be just fine to use. So we're going to stir this up, and it makes this really milky color. We are good to go to start putting our eggs in. Every egg has an air pocket in it on the larger end. So if you are packaging eggs for long term, or if you're putting them into egg cartons, what you want to do is you want to put it pointy side down so this air pocket is at the top. And you're going to want to do the same thing as best you can in these jars with your water glassed eggs. So you want it pointy side down with your air pocket at the top. Just the best that you can. So we're going to go ahead and see how many we can get in here. I'm just making sure they're clean. We've got some different sizes. The size of your eggs doesn't matter. Shape of your eggs doesn't matter. Just want them to have an intact bloom. You can also do this in a larger quantity. So if you want to use like a 5-gallon bucket, you can do that. You just want to do 1 ounce of lime to every quart of water. With the larger buckets, you run into the issue of how heavy they get. So for ease of use, I'm going to use these half-gallons. These were actually left by the previous owners of our house. So it was a little blessing for us to have these cool vintage jars that we can use and have them looking pretty in our pantry. Okay. And you want them to be submerged. You don't want the air to get to them. So at this point, we're going to use some of the smaller ones. Try to squeeze them in there to get the most out of our jar. Now we're going to put a cap on this, just a regular mason jar cap. These are wide mouth jars, so I'm going to get a wide mouth cap for this to keep air from getting in. And it can sit just like this in your cold room or pantry, and it will be ready to use in those winter months when you don't have fresh eggs. We are very excited to try these out. I've seen a lot of people do it. I've seen them crack their eggs a year later. It doesn't get rubbery the way if you were to freeze eggs. That's how I've done it in the past, is freezing eggs. I just lightly scramble them, try not to get air into them, and put them in the freezer. But they do come out kind of a different texture. So these, I'm very interested to see how they are in 6 months or so and use them for cooking and baking. Thank you so much for being here today and for following our channel. We're just trying to get this started, a little bit of how-tos and a little bit of farm life here at Scott Family Homestead. See you next time.